Hello, everybody, and welcome to our online talk for 2024 after a bit of long break of more than a year. And I'm here with Dennis Groh, who is our newest board member for Kapla. Hello, Dennis. And Michael, who's another board member. And Dennis is in Cologne in Germany, and Michael in Sydney. I'm in Adelaide. And we got some guests from Germany as well. And I'd like to hand over to Dennis for the introduction of PEAR, after highlighting again that we're recording this session, so whoever is dialing in later on, I hope they're aware of that. And but I'll repeat it if I see that somebody's dialing on. So over to you, Dennis.
Yes, thank you, Juliane, and a warm welcome from me as well. I have the pleasure to introduce my colleague and dear friend, Per Stöcker. Per is a partner in our law firm LLR here in Cologne, Germany, and he mainly deals with data protection issues as well as IT contracts. And today he will tell us something about the new EU digital strategy. And I would say let's go down to business, and Per, the stage is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dennis. Thank you, Kapla, for having the chance to speak here about, as you said in the introduction, the EU digital strategy and what these new regulations could have as an impact for data-driven businesses between European countries and non-European countries such as Australia. Yeah, to me personally, I'm lawyer in Germany. I'm mostly external data protection officer for different companies, different size companies, different sectors. I'm associated partner at LLR, colleague of Dennis, focused on data protection, IT law, and collective labor law. I'm certified data protection officer in terms of the European Center on Privacy and Cybersecurity in Maastricht University, and I'm also a lecturer for data protection at the Baden-Württemberg Cooperative State University in Heilbronn. Today's agenda, I want to give a short overview of what the European digital strategy is about. And then, yeah, can already say it's a lot of new or upcoming laws and regulations. So we just want to show some examples of these regulations and how they might be relevant for businesses in third countries such as Australia. Short repetition of the GDPR, the principle of the market location, and we want to detect if such principles are also known in the Artificial Intelligence Act, the Digital Services or Digital Markets Acts, which are connected to each other, and last but not least, the Data Act. So first of all, the European digital strategy, we have a lot of handy slogans from the European Commission: shaping Europe's digital future, a Europe ready for the digital age. And yeah, when the European bodies want to shape something, they most likely put in a lot of new laws and regulations, and that's exactly what the digital strategy is about. So it's an overarching project to regulate the digital economy in Europe. So it's the total opposite of letting the market act and letting the companies do their business, where they might already have experiences and safeguards. So I think of topics like cyber resilience. So where you already have good and well-proven certifications, but this is not sufficient. And in the perspective of the European Union, so we have new regulations on these topics. So I pointed out cyber resilience, but we have also, of course, regulations and laws on data privacy, like the GDPR. We're still waiting for e-privacy regulation or e-privacy act. So that's just the guideline in place, which needs to be transformed into national law of the member states, but there should also be an e-privacy act to come. Then the new regulations deal with the exchange and use of non-personal data, like the Data Act. We have regulations on digital platforms and services. We have the very much discussed Artificial Intelligence Act, the AI Act, and the cyber resilience for products, cyber resilience for certain markets like the financial market, but also cyber resilience regulations where they set the bar a little bit higher for critical infrastructures. Then we have some regulations on content and copyright, and which is a little bit out of scope today, the digital transformation of public bodies, which is at least in Germany, horrible situation. So there's a lot to come. Can already say that overall all these regulations and guidelines might have a more or less strong impact on European businesses, but also on international businesses. So directly or indirectly, maybe just because you get new contractual obligations if you are in business with European companies from outside the EU. This is just some examples of the regulations we have, which are partly already in place. Some of them are still in the legislation process, but these are the clusters we see in these different laws and regulations. So with first of all the privacy with the GDPR and the e-privacy guideline, as I already mentioned. Then we have the data, the non-personal data, which is covered by the Data Act and the Data Governance Act. We will have a look on the Data Act. So it's about the use and access to data and maybe the obligation to share your own data with third parties. Then we have the Digital Services, Digital Market Act and Digital Service Act, which are connected to each other and apply to platforms, gatekeepers to digital services in Europe, so like the hyperscalers. Then we have a lot of regulations dealing with cybersecurity, the DORA, the Digital Operational Resilience Act, which applies to financial sector. We have critical entities resilience and the NIS2 directive, which are focused on critical infrastructures. And we have a Cyber Resilience Act, Cybersecurity Act, covering digital products. And then last but not least, the artificial intelligence. So the Artificial Intelligence Act, which sets guidelines or safeguards on how you might use artificial intelligence and how you are not allowed to use artificial intelligence in the future regulation, and also connected to the AI liability directive, which needs to be transformed into national laws, but which aims to solve the problem. Who's to be held liable if AI causes damages? So, but that's just some of the regulations. I think we pointed out like around 70 different regulations and laws, but these might be the most discussed at the moment. how can such...
Can I just quickly ask something?
Yeah,
and maybe for everybody else as well, Per allowed us yesterday that we may ask questions in between. So if you have any, just jump in or raise your hand. I'll try to monitor that. I'm just wondering, because there's so many rules or acts on cybersecurity. Has something happened? Like, is there a specific reason why there's so many in that field and like comparatively little in the other fields? And I'm just thinking that because we had a couple of bigger, I guess, cyber security data breaches recently in Australia with a big health insurance provider being hacked, and also a big telecommunications provider having been hacked.
Yes, I think you have two effects. So first of all, there was hardly any regulation in Europe on cybersecurity and cyber resilience. So if we think, for example, in terms of the GDPR, there's a very tiny regulation in the or provision in the whole regulation that covers cyber or data security, and only says so you have to process personal data in a more or less secure way, but it's not defined which level you need to have as a cyber security standard. And so the only regulation we have in Germany only aims at critical infrastructures such as public transport, electricity, nuclear power plants back in the days, for instance, large hospitals, a whole health sector, maybe. And on the other hand, as you said, we have a lot of data breaches, cyber incidents, especially in the market of smaller and middle-sized businesses. So where we have a lot of damages, a lot of risk there, which is even connected to the acting of states like Russia, like China, like maybe North Korea in this row, with higher risks and a lack of regulation. So this is the approach of the European Union to cover this space, and I think that's the best explanation I have for the fact that we have so many regulations at once coming in. Okay. Yeah. Okay, back on track. So the question is, how can these regulations, these laws apply to third countries or third country businesses? And first of all, I wanted to maybe repeat, because it might be well known in the meantime, the market location principle, which is constituted in Article 3 of the GDPR. So that says that the GDPR applies even to the processing of personal data if a controller or processor is not established in the Union, if the processing activities are related to either the offering of goods and services to data subjects in the Union, or if the data processing consists of monitoring of behavior of data subjects, and this monitoring takes place within the Union. So that means that even from outside the European Union, you could directly be affected by the GDPR. And the question is if such market location principle is becomes more or less an overarching principle for all these new regulations and laws in the European Union. Yeah, so first of all, we want to have a deeper dive into the Artificial Intelligence Act. The Artificial Intelligence Act has a very wide scope because it's a very wide definition of what artificial intelligence is, and it's a kind of a dynamic definition. So it's not in the AI Act itself. So they keep the definition in an annex to the AI Act, so that they can change it with new technical standards coming up. So first of all, this is one of the major problems, that we have a very wide definition, very wide scope, and AI Act covers all concepts of machine learning or deep learning. So you might leave out the next bullet points, which is very technical. But machine learning, deep learning components might already be part of more or less all software which is provided as a service, as a platform, whatever. So machine learning, so a more or less smart algorithm is part of most of what online software, for instance, is already delivering. So some say the AI Act is nothing but a software act, because more or less with the wide definition, all software products or common software products might fall under that directive. Again, the AI Act casts a wide net, aiming to ensure that AI systems are used responsibly, ethically by any organization or government in the European Union, regardless of where these systems are developed or deployed. That means that even businesses outside the Union will more or less directly or indirectly be targeted by the new regulations. The regulation itself has a risk-based approach, like we might know from the GDPR. So it's about regulating risk arising from the specific use of artificial intelligence. And then we have three groups. We have the prohibited use of AI. We have high-risk AI, which is, I think the has the most provisions in the AI Act, and then we have the more common use of AI, which might already be in place for a lot of companies, where we have only transparency obligations, such as the use of chatbots, the use of sentiment analysis, the use of generative artificial intelligence. Prohibited are such use cases where these technical can distort human behavior, exploiting vulnerabilities due to age, physical, mental disability, the use by authorities to assess or classify a person's trustworthiness. So you know, the people score in China, for instance. That's what should definitely be prohibited in the European Union. Then real-time remote biometric identification in publicly accessible locations. Again, this is part of the Chinese people score. High-risk AI is covering systems that are intended to be used as a safety component or device, or itself a device in the AI system or device must undergo third-party conformity assessment before being placed on the market. So this could be interesting for a lot of software developers, even outside the European Union. So if you have software components which might be part of a critical infrastructure, for instance, then you will always be in the high risk. And for the other things like the chatbot sentiment analysis, as I said, we have only transparency obligations. So the people, the subjects you're interacting with, need to know that they are interacting with artificial intelligence. And as I said, so even this Artificial Intelligence Act applies to companies outside the union, irrespective of whether those providers of AI are established or resident in the union or third countries. Then we have the providers or operators of AI systems established or located in a third country, where the output is generated by the system. Importers, distributors, and last but not least, the authorized representatives of service providers, which are not established in the union. All this leads to a directly effect of the AI Act for third country actors. So again, we have a market location principle, as we know from the GDPR. Next example, the Digital Services Act, Digital Markets Act. First of all, this might not apply to many companies, so there are positive lists from the European Union who falls under these regulations, and these are the well-known hyperscalers. So these are in the Digital Markets Act, the gatekeepers like Google and Microsoft Bing, and in the Data Services Act, we have companies, again, Meta, Google, TikTok, Twitter or X, and such companies. So they in the future fall under new regulatory requirements to secure fair competitive condition. And again, of course, these acts wouldn't make any sense if we don't have a market location principle established, because none of these services is based in Europe. So I think we can shorten that a little bit in the stage again. So both regulations know the market location principle. Then maybe a little bit more relevant again, the Data Act. The Data Act ensures a fair distribution of the added value from data, non-personal data, among players in the data economy. It's about securing access to data and the use of data, for instance, for the third parties. So if you're a car company and you generate a lot of technical data out of the use and software in the vehicle, you might be obliged to share this data, for instance, with large insurance companies or other stakeholders in the supply chain of car products. That's what the Data Act aims at. So it creates a European data protectionism, which may of course be a detriment of players from third countries first. So it's a little bit like data should stay in Europe and should be commercialized in Europe and used in Europe. But again, it's addressed even to data holders providing data to recipients in the union. So very similar to the wording of Article 3 of the GDPR, providers of data processing services offering such services to customers in the union. So again, it's not an explicit regulation analog to Article 3 GDPR, but the wording is quite similar at some point. So data sharing obligations apply to companies that manufacture, offer connected products or related services in the EU. And the interoperability obligations and obligations on international data transfers apply to providers of data processing services, again, like platform as a service, software as a service products which are offered to EU-based customers.
Sorry, Per, just one question.
Yeah.
Who could ask the companies collecting data? Or is there, like, when do you have a right to ask them to provide you with the data? Do you have to be an EU resident company that has some kind of
yes,
reasonable interest?
Already, yes. So you might be obliged to provide the data if you're not based in the EU, but you're only allowed to ask for access to data if you're a European company. So that's the case of European data protectionism.
Okay.
Yes. So summary is that the market location principle, which we know from the GDPR, will also be established in many new and upcoming regulations, and therefore players in even from outside the European market, which act in the European market, should familiarize themselves with the new legal regulations and evaluate the impact which these regulations have on their business model. So I think it's a good chance for legal support, maybe from European specialists. And yeah, that's my closing line.
Thank you, Pierre.
Thank you very much, Pierre.
Thank you.